been filming an online course together over the last few months, and every time I see you,
Yes.
you've been telling me the trials and tribulations of getting your license to be able to fly drones. So tell me, first of all, why do you need one? Where did you start from? Where were you coming from as a starting point to trying to get that license?
Yeah, sure. So I've been flying remote controlled aircraft for years, and so that's how I got into doing research with them. And actually, when you're doing research, as long as you're just sort of doing it for your own purposes at university or something like that, you don't need any qualifications really, as long as you can stick within the regulations that exist. And there's quite a lot of them. Some of them are a bit restrictive, but it's fine. As long as you know what they are, you can stick within them. If you want to start doing anything a bit more complicated, for example, if you want to fly in a built-up area, or if you want to do promotional material, or you want to work with commercial companies or anything like that, where you come under the bracket then what's called aerial work.
And that's if you want to if you've got a camera on the drone, you want to actually use it for anything.
Yeah, and you want to use the footage for something
different.
that someone might make money from.
Yeah.
So if you're just doing research with it, you're okay, as long as you're not in a built-up area and the restrictions that apply. But if you're wanting to be in a built-up area, or you're wanting to make money from things effectively, then you do need to get a license from, the license comes from a company, and then you apply for permission from the Civil Aviation Authority.
Right, so you've already got your license, but then you need to get permission. So what do you need to do then to be able to get that permission?
Yeah, so as part of getting your license, there's a theoretical element to that, where you have to demonstrate to the company that's issuing you the license that you're safe in the operation of your aircraft. You know what you're doing, you know how the aircraft works. And in that process, you write what's called an operations manual. You also then need to do a theory test and a practical test. Those two tests and your operations manual, you then send that off to the Civil Aviation Authority and request a permission for aerial work. The reason that you need that permission on top of having a license is because actually within aviation law there is a rule that says you can't do aerial work with unmanned aircraft.
Right.
So even if you had a license, that law would still apply. So you actually have to apply for a specific exemption, effectively, from that particular part of the air navigation order, such that you are then allowed to operate. And you use your license and your operations manual to demonstrate that you are competent for that exception, and therefore the Civil Aviation Authority will issue it to you.
Okay, and obviously you're working with drones that for research, so you've put different sensors on them, they've constantly got different things on them, you're trying out new things, so so every time you do that, do you have to write something new into your operations manual?
Sort of. So we went through quite a lengthy process of writing our operations manual because, if you just buy a drone off the shelf that you're never going to change, you're just going to use it as a flying camera, which is what the vast majority of people do, your operations manual is very easy. It's very easy to write. It's basically just the handbook for the aircraft plus some aviation law. But because we build our own aircraft, we modify our aircraft, we make changes quite regularly, we had to document in our operations manual how we would do that safely. Because if we didn't have that documentation, then every time we changed anything, it would mean changing the operations manual, which would then mean we'd have to reapply for our permission, because it's now subject to a different operations manual. But we actually put in our operations manual how we're going to manage modifications to the aircraft, how we're going to do that safely. And that's been approved both by our training organisation and by the Civil Aviation Authority. So the license that you hold is for a specific class of aircraft. Okay. So for example, a rotary wing aircraft under 20 kilograms. So that covers everything. But then your permission needs to be specific to what it is you're doing. Okay. And we had to write ours in a way that allowed us to use any aircraft effectively, because we modify ours quite often.